up, everybody? Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It is Friday, June 6th. It's your girl, Denise Salcedo and Robin Lundberg, and we are here to chat some Friday night Smackdown. It's the go-home show into Money in the Bank. Robin, do you feel more excited heading into Money in the Bank coming off of today's show?
I do. I feel more excited for a few reasons. I like the way the show went off the air. I like the Logan Paul thing with John Cena. I like that in that ruined wrestling motif. And John Cena killed it at the end of the show with the R-Truth chants. He handled that like a true champ, like the last real champ, being able to fly on impulsively, as one might say, with the ad libs there, and saying you can't handle the truth, the old callback, and playing off the crowd in that moment. So I dug that. I dug some of the other like foreshadowing that took place throughout the show. The idea that, I know we'll get into all this in depth, but this is all related, right? Like it's like, okay, that pumps you up for the tag match and the fallout, but you also see Cody Rhodes face off with Seth Rollins, and you go, what could be there? You see Bron Breakker face off with Fatu, and you go, okay, I want to see that at some point. You hear them say that the King of the Ring matches are going to set up perhaps the main events at SummerSlam, which makes you think there's actually a plan in place to get somewhere outside of Money in the Bank. And then the women's division continues to shine at such a level that you salivate at the prospects of that Money in the Bank match itself. So yeah, I'm definitely more excited about Money in the Bank after the show.
Well, to say, it sounds like you definitely enjoyed today's show. I didn't think it was bad. It kind of flew by pretty much. I wasn't sure if it was the show itself or if I'm just used to watching 3-hour SmackDowns at this point. I'm not really sure which of the two options it is. I've definitely sat through far worse episodes of SmackDown, so that's why this one's like fine with me. But I want to go ahead and kick things off with the closing of the show, which was John Cena, Logan Paul, Cody Rhodes, and Jey Uso. So this was a whole situation that we have seen last week too. So last week we got kind of a lot of John Cena basically saying some things that weren't really so accurate, I think, to Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. And this time there was a little less talking of them directly to the opposing team of Cody and Jey. Instead, they basically came out and took them out really fast. Like Logan Paul wiped out Jey by hitting him with a shot with the brass knucks, and then that allowed John Cena to take out Cody Rhodes there. So they took him out relatively quick. Like Jey and Cody were laid out pretty much the entire time. But my favorite part, and I think the most noteworthy part of it all, was the fans. This was the first time that they got to really chant for R-Truth when John Cena was in the ring, considering that, of course, we talked about this in depth last week, was that, R-Truth was let go by the company. His contract was not renewed by WWE. And the last match that he had, or the last big thing that he did on the show, was a matchup against John Cena. And so we went into this today with the crowd finally getting a chant to chant "We Want Truth." And I thought, okay, like I saw John Cena go for the microphone and I'm like, all right, here we go. Like, what's he gonna say? And it was so funny because he's all, you guys can't handle the truth, right? So he made it seem like if you were a person who was like watching the television show, but for whatever reason you didn't know R-Truth got released and you didn't know that these chants for R-Truth, you would have thought that he was talking about this storyline because he was making it seem like the fans were talking about wanting the truth versus wanting R-Truth. And so that's how John Cena handled it, by basically making the "We Want Truth" chants mean something else, or like he was taking it to mean something else and saying that the fans can't handle the truth and we don't deserve the truth, and etc. So when you said handle it like a pro, that's what he did.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be able to look, I've been in that. In fact, I was quasi in that situation earlier today on live radio in the midst of a little bit of a firestorm that took place in the programming lineup on a certain channel. But the ability to flip that in the moment, impromptu, is one of the reasons he's arguably the best ever on the mic. I mean, I think when you say like who are the greatest ever on the mic, it's The Rock and John Cena in my mind as the top two guys there. And there's others that are in the conversation, but those two stand the test. Is probably why they've gone to Hollywood and had the success that they've each had because of that skill set uniquely. So for John Cena to be able to take it, let the crowd know he was responding to them. Like, they knew he was talking to them. They knew he heard what they said and knew what it meant. But at the same time, like you said, make it broad enough so that it could apply to any situation. I thought it was masterfully done. I thought he killed that. One of the best things he's done in this run that has kind of felt flat a lot of the way. But I do like that, again, this recent touch with Logan Paul, because I think we talked about this last week. The whole idea of, okay, he's saying he ruins wrestling doesn't mean you can feed us slop. It doesn't mean the product can suck balls and you can go, oh, yeah, he's ruining wrestling. That's the thing. No, that's not acceptable. But if he is in line with characters who represent ruined wrestling to, say, the internet wrestling community, somebody like Logan Paul, that makes a lot of sense, because he's elevating the ideas, the premise, the personalities that ruin wrestling. And that is storytelling.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Like it's funny because last week I was like, we were on a misunderstanding, but we got it all together and we're on the same page with that. Yes, please do not make it boring. And when I think about it, like the thing that I liked about today was that when John Cena was basically making it seem like those truth chants were about something else, I feel like the fans got louder. Like they were chanting, "We want truth," even more louder. And I thought, oh yeah, like let's go. Like let's make sure that the company hears it, loud and proud, right? And it blew up by the end of the show. But now in regards to this actual matchup, like this is probably the one of the matches that you got some really big stars in this. All of these guys are big WWE superstars, but it really wasn't the match that I'm like really looking forward to. However, I think that today did kind of help push it a little bit more in an exciting direction for what it is, for what it's worth, right? Because you mentioned earlier we did get some teases, which we'll get into in just a second. But I do want to say this though. The one thing I do wish that we got more of in this actual feud is I wish we got a chance to hear Cody and Jey talk more shit to John Cena and Logan Paul, because last week it was John Cena and Logan Paul talking their shit on them, and they didn't really get a chance to like refute any of that, to really throw some jabs back. And this week that really didn't happen either, so that kind of ended really abruptly. So I kind of felt like, even though I feel like the attack at the end of today's show kind of gave away what the finish might look like for Money in the Bank, like now I'm definitely expecting to see Cody and Jey win, because if they don't, they're basically going to look like chumps, because I feel like they made them look like chumps last week and kind of this week too. So you can't keep doing that to them. Like they got to win tomorrow, and they got to win in a dominating fashion, in my opinion, because I don't like that they're consistently looking like they're just easy to take out.
Yeah, I think Cody, gets the pin on John Cena in the match as sort of the quasi retribution for WrestleMania, to set up where we may be going in the future. To your point, the one thing that bothered me a little bit, now Jey Uso's entrance is incredible, and the thing he does with the kids, that's like a lifetime memory. Like, so that you have to sit there and actually appreciate, because I have kids who are obsessed with Jey Uso, so I understand but you can't turn him into Groot also, where the only thing he says is yeet. Like he's in the ring.
Oh, you mean
like,
Groot? Like
yeah,
from the
I am
Avengers?
Groot. Yeah. Like he is I am yeet. Like you can't
Yeet mania. No,
yeah.
and especially because, sometimes the things that people say about Jay, I'm not going to echo those things that people have said about him. But yeah, I get
He
what you're
sucks in the
saying,
ring.
that
He's
they
only a
just,
catchphrase. All that's it's all on
yes.
entrance. You don't want to feed into that. But regardless, he's got charisma. He's got the crowd in the palm of his hands. I just, even when he was doing, it was either yeet or it was no yeet, and then it was a yeet down. And like I don't think he said another word other than yeet in that time period in the ring.
Yeah, because even earlier, yeah, like you were saying, like the yeet down was what he was saying. So yeah, you're right. I think they only really had him say that, and they don't really have him say much. I think the times we've mostly heard him speak are those moments that he's had with Gunther, because him and Gunther have had like full on freaking soap operas at this point. Like they have gone back and forth on the mic. We've seen just about all we can with them. But in this particular portion of the story, we have not really heard Jey say much of anything. And that's what I wanted to see last week. I wanted him to be like, what the hell? Like, I'm not freaking lazy. Don't be calling me lazy. And, give some refutes back. Say, hey, man, like, you're the one who doesn't even show up to television. Like, you got 20 dates in how many years? Like, in a year or whatever. Like, there was times like I wanted to see more of Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes fire back at both John and especially Logan Paul. Like, there are so many things you could say about Logan Paul, and we haven't heard them say any of them. So those are the only things that I would want to see different. But I think today the highlight of that specific moment was how much the fans were chanting, "We want truth," having John Cena out there. Like, that was the big highlight.
But then again, even the way he handled it and the fact that it stoked that fire more shows you how effective it was. Because he amplified it while simultaneously keeping it in character and on, which that's a tough plane to land.
Yeah, it is. And I think only John Cena was probably anybody else, like someone that was newer, they wouldn't know how to handle that situation. But yeah, John did handle it like a pro. We got Bob Ross Jr. in the building. What's up, Bob? He says, I wanted Stephanie to win Money in the Bank until I realized that she might do an announced cash in like RVD did in 2006. I always like that when people do like an announced cash in. I don't mind that because to me, it makes it you to me when you're upfront about stuff, it just makes you seem like a stronger champion, like a more confident type of champion. But I don't know, like the women's Money in the Bank is very hard because it can go in so many different directions. Robin, I think you and I have discussed Naomi being the person that looks like she may be winning the Money in the Bank. That was my official prediction for the predictions video. And if I still feel strongly in that direction, but I do want to take a second though and talk about the women today because we had the baby faces versus the heels from all of the women that are going to be in the Money in the Bank in this matchup here today. And dude, I was a big fan of what we saw. It made me get excited more so for this matchup because I've already been looking forward to it, but I like seeing all of the girls in there. My favorite thing was that we saw like a carousel of basically each girl hitting like a move and one coming in and getting the other. And it was just smooth. Like, given how many bodies were in there were no hiccups, nothing like that. And it got me feeling like, all right, this is going to be a smooth Money in the Bank because we've had some past women's Money in the Banks that were there were some moments that weren't so great, and it has happened, and it is what it is once you throw the ladder in there. You got a lot of people that this is going to be their first time doing a Money in the Bank ladder match. So obviously it's going to be different once the component of the ladder is in the ring, but based off of what we saw here today, I'm feeling really good about it.
It was Pop City for the women, right? Like, I mean, Rhea Ripley, Stephanie Vaquer is super over. Bliss pops out the wazoo. Like, so the women's right. I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, but so stacked, and that specific match is incredibly stacked. I'm with you just because of how effective this has been in building Naomi's character, and it feels like the time for her is right now. Like, if you're going to strike, you got to strike at this very moment, or you may never capture that again, for her. So I like, that maniacal character running around with the briefcase, threatening to cash in at various times. Like, so that makes sense to me. But star power, I think you'll have great in-ring chemistry there. I didn't even mention pop for Tiffany Stratton too. Obviously a little bit of a separate aspect, but regardless, yeah, I think just on paper, that's the match I'm most looking forward to.
Dude, that's 100% the match I'm most looking forward to. But how the babyfaces got the win, though, Roxanne was about to tag her in, and Naomi basically said, I'm done, and left Roxanne all alone there. She got taken out, wiped clean, poor girl. This got to play into the Money in the Bank match. Like, I'm starting to wonder, like, what if there's a situation where Naomi's about to win, and Roxanne costs her the opportunity because of her basically, like, screwing her in this matchup, or what if it comes down to Roxanne and Naomi at the end, right? Because Roxanne's another top pick that could also win the Money in the Bank. So I'm curious to see how this component, because they didn't do it just for shits, or maybe they did just to give it a stronger win for the from what I'm calling the Hot Topic team, because I'm like, all those girls would shop at Hot Topic that won, Rio, Stephanie, and Alexa. But I don't know. I'm wondering if that's going to play into a bigger part of what we see happen at Money in the Bank tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty good at reading the tea leaves, I would say, and the shopping sprees. Who's the Forever 21 group if they're the Hot Topic one?
I feel like, well, Forever 21 unfortunately closed down, so,
Oh, so
like,
yeah,
teardrop. But
I
I
think I
thought
might have seen that in passing.
I felt like Damage Control a while back was the Forever 21 group because they would come out with the big baggy pants and the
Mm,
small little tank tops, and that was literally like the Forever 21 clothing that you would see.
yeah,
So they're Forever 21 or
I mean,
were.
I don't think it's I mean, we're both picking Naomi, but I don't say that with like putting my chips in the middle of the table confidence. Like so I think there's a variety of ways it could go, and Vaquera is super hot right now. I mean, that stare down, was that on Raw that she had with Rhea Ripley? Like just seeing them in the same.
Stephanie
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Rox and Rhea. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can feel the electricity from that. And then Naomi, the one thing that mucks up her situation a little bit is she's in the midst of that triangle with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. So if she does win, how does that play into it, or does that take away from that? So that would be my one drawback on that. And by the way, I love the fact that they're long playing the Jade Bianca aspect of that, where even today they were going to talk to Jade, and Charlotte cut her off before she could speak on that topic, which that does show you a lot of times they are doing some long-term storytelling, and we got to give credit when it's due. When you talk about Naomi throwing Jade on the car, how long it was from that happening, Jade going on the car, to the payoff to Naomi, and then the amount of time from finding out it was Naomi to now and still not knowing how Jade feels about Bianca.
Yeah, those are some that I feel like they've kind of hit pause on and they're waiting to like revive at some point. I think that after this PLE, I think hopefully some of these stories start to progress a little bit faster because Evolution 2 is coming up. And some of these stories, like I'm predicting like we might see Jade and there's a possibility we see Jade and Charlotte happening at Evolution 2. Like all hands are on deck because this is going to be, come on, like it's the return of Evolution. Like I don't want this show to fail. I don't want them to like not put all their eggs into this basket because I don't want them to have another reason to say, hey, it's going to be another, 5+ years till we get Evolution 3. Like, I want to see this become a yearly thing. So I'm really hoping that they do go all out and book some big matches for this show so that, hey, man, like there's a good, turnout, good viewership, etc., where people actually give a damn about the show and give a damn about seeing it every single year. I hope so.
Yeah, look, and I think the announcement of the King of the Ring stuff gives me an inkling that they are about to hit the gas pedal again. And some of this stuff is cyclical. I think so much of it was swallowed up by the ending of WrestleMania, where people felt a certain way about how that went down, and then the TKO stuff. So like then everything goes all the way in one direction. Oh, it's all terrible. TKO is ruining everything. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. It's never gonna be the same. Bring Vince back. You know.
Oh God. I did see those tweets by the way, and I'm like, y'all, we need to stop. We gotta find a nice happy balance here. We can't go to one extreme or the other.
And I'm not saying there wasn't reason for criticism or not reason to not like something.
Of
And
course, of
and I think
course.
the rock aspect of it really riled up people's emotions. But at the same time, there are generally ebbs and flows in the calendar year. And I do feel like Money in the Bank might be a big show. We're also, is there a Roman Reigns appearance coming at some point in time? Could that
I
be
feel
tomorrow?
like so many people have been asking if Roman Reigns is going to be appearing at Money in the Bank. I don't know. Obviously, we've talked about Seth Rollins being a front runner for winning at Money in the Bank, and people have toyed with the idea of what if it's Roman Reigns who cost Seth Rollins this match. Hell, it could be CM Punk. I feel like CM Punk and Seth Rollins' feud is never going to end. Like that's ongoing forever now. And so there are these avenues where they could, go. I mean, we haven't seen Roman Reigns. We're not that far from SummerSlam. Roman Reigns is gonna be on that SummerSlam card. I can't imagine he wouldn't be. So we gotta, start pressing on that gas pedal. We really
Yeah.
do.
And for sure, and speaking of the gas pedal, all gas, no brains. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Yes, I was gonna get to it now. I
All
was
right, let's
waiting
do it.
for it. I was
Let's
waiting
segue.
for
Let's
it.
segue.
Yes.
I was just gonna say real quick, and Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed thing is my favorite thing going right now. This is my favorite incarnation of Seth Rollins ever. So I feel like that's one reason SmackDown was more
It's been
interesting
hit or
to me
miss for
tonight.
me. He's had some boring promos, Robin, that I've been like, "Oh my god, shoot me now."
I don't know. I like maybe it's just Braun Breaker spearing, but he had the little stare down with Jacob Fatu, and then we
That
had
was cool.
the Solo Sikoa promo before that, and then obviously Jacob Fatu overhearing Solo taking a little dig at him.
Well, this one was what I did like about today's Seth Rollins promo was that he made sure to try to toy between he tried to puppeteer between both Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu by being like, "Oh, you're Solo Sikoa's little B," right? And clearly we all know that Seth doesn't even mean that, because even when he took that back, like pretty much a couple minutes later, he was saying, "I'm not afraid of you and I'm not afraid of you. There's anybody I'm afraid of, it's that guy right there. It's Jacob Fatu." And it's been more and more clear that there's been a breakup that's incoming. But my favorite part though was that you knew today, first of all, yes, that Braun Breaker Jacob Fatu confrontation, great. And even the JC Matteo one with Bronson Reed, I wish they would have given a little bit more of an opportunity to show that that one was also happening, because you only caught it if you were looking in the background. But anyways, my favorite part though was when Solo Sikoa was saying that Jacob Fatu is all gas, no brains. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, "Oh, I just know Jacob Fatu is either going to creep up behind him or he's listening somewhere." And he was. So now he knows for a fact this guy is not to be trusted. And I think he's kind of already known that, maybe been a gut feeling, but now it's been reassured. So does Jacob Fatu screw Solo Sikoa at Money in the Bank? That's another thing that can happen there. Jacob Fatu doesn't have anything going on at Money in the Bank. So, that could be that whole element.
Well, I mean, clearly we're getting close to it, right? Like, the fact that we saw it, they visualized it for us rather than the tension mounting. There was a visual clue and giving in, and it comes on the same night. Like, I thought Solo cooked in the first segment of the show. I thought his promo was good. I like that, the comedic character out of him. I was even thinking, could he win Money in the Bank after seeing that? But I'm assuming we're getting the Jacob Fatu mega push sooner rather than later. Not that it hasn't already happened. They've already shown this guy's a monster and a beast, but the next phase of that, which includes him breaking off from that group.
Right, right. So, I mean, there's a lot to kind of be excited about. They made a couple of teases there. They know what they've got. They know what they've got with Jacob Fatu and JC Matteo. By the way, JC Matteo had a match with Jimmy Uso today. Not half bad. I had some good moments in this. My favorite part was when Jimmy went for a dive, and it was so funny because he like got hurt more than JC did, just because it was like diving onto a wall. And then I also liked when he actually lifted JC Matteo. That was pretty impressive, because JC's a pretty big dude, right? So I did like that too. So I had fun with what they did with Jimmy and JC Matteo here today.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the run in at the end, and it felt like there was a lot of that, right? Like a lot of promo interference straight to the match. The same thing happened with the LA Knight, Aleister Black setup, and then same thing happened at the end, obviously. So overall, I feel like they've done a good job with getting Jacob Fatu to this point. Now the question is, what's next for him? That's what I'm really curious about. Like, okay, yeah, he kicks Solo's ass and he moves on. What is he moving on to?
Right. I think don't forget that Damian Priest also called out Jacob Fatu. What was it, like a few weeks ago? They haven't
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, they did have a little confrontation today, didn't they?
They did
Like a really
backstage, I
quick
think.
one.
No,
Yeah,
no, you're
yeah,
right. They
yeah.
did backstage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that. God. So I'm like, dude, guys, 3 hours of SmackDown, guys. We're gonna forget some shit. Sometimes like I don't know what week it happened on. I just know it happened at some point. So I think it's gonna be the way that I'm kind of seeing this progress is gonna be we got to get the match with him and JC. Then after that, him and Solo. And then once he's done and through with that program, Damian Priest. And then from there, I don't know. But at least that covers, I think, a good amount of time from now until SummerSlam, I think. So we'll see how that goes from there. But we do got Saif Dan Super here, who says, I'm sorry, the Seth Rollins faction is awful. Bron had more chemistry with Corbin of all people. None of the charm and star power of the OG bloodline. Look, I don't think they're awful. I just think we had one bad Seth Rollins promo last week, and that kind of put a little bit of a, stick in the mud. What I don't like, there's one thing I don't like. I don't like that Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed are almost being set up like twins. And I say this by, they're both coming out with the black shades. They're both coming out they're dressed exactly like Alba Fire and Piper Niven in The Secret Harvest,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I don't like the idea of them looking like his minions. And that's never what I wanted. I wanted it to be like, almost like a friends group. Like we're all on the same page. We have respect for each other. But instead, it feels more of like, all right, like these are my minions. And I don't like them looking like each other. I want them to stand out from each other. Wear different kinds of suits. You don't got to look like his bodyguard. Like there are a million suits out there for men. Go find something else, kind of like what you get with the Hurt Syndicate, where they all wear different suits because they're all friends. Like, and that's the way that I want. Like, I want to see Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed still as individuals in the group.
I get that. I don't necessarily agree with them not looking like henchmen right now, because to me, them looking like henchmen elevates Seth Rollins, and that's the whole
And they
point.
can still do that, but they
Yeah.
look like minions is what they do. Like
Yeah.
that's the part where I'm like, okay, there's a difference between this is my guy, and if you fuck with him, you're fucking with me. And then there's a difference between like, oh, that's my guy. Like that, I'm gonna do anything for him, and I'm gonna put aside my own hopes and my own desires for this guy's hopes and desires.
Yeah.
That's what that feels like to me. And there's a difference because that's what Roman Reigns was. Like everybody put their desires aside for Roman Reigns. And so I that's not the vision that I had for this group. At least not the vision I had.
Well, that's also a big difference between this and the star power and charm of the OG bloodline. That was Roman Reigns. I mean, there's a lot of other things that come along with it, but the real reason for that was Roman Reigns.
No, yeah. I mean, you can't be Roman Reigns. Like
Yeah,
you just can't. Like I'm sorry. Seth is never gonna be Roman Reigns. He's gonna be his own version, and that's what he's got to do. But he's not gonna be Roman.
But yeah, to me personally, I think this has worked better for Seth than most incarnations of his character, or especially in the recent past. I mean, the idea of Heyman being in there makes it feel bigger. The idea of Braun Breaker being a henchman, considering what we consider his future to be, makes him feel bigger. I feel obviously that Seth is being catapulted into he's already in the main picture, but it's going to be with a championship in short order to get off these possible matches in that way with Cody, with Punk, with Roman, and I've been a fan of it personally. I think it's worked. I feel like Raw has felt like a bigger show than SmackDown, relatively speaking, mostly because of that. And that was the big thing that came out of WrestleMania that really landed more than the Cena aspect. The Cena aspect kind of got rejected a little bit, but those were the two nights, right? And everybody was like, oh crap, after night one, what a match. Oh, I can't believe Paul Heyman double turned, and to me, that's carried over a little bit more. And it feels like the lead act in the company at the moment.
Yeah, no, it 100% is. But again, I think they should just make some tweaks to that. Again, make them feel like individuals, make them feel like they have a real purpose there and that they're gaining something from it and that it's just not Seth Rollins there to profit. We got, let me see what we got. We got Yatik Sahu, who says, thanks for the wishes, Denise. And by the way, it's Yatik Sahu's birthday. So again, happy birthday to Yatik. He says, thanks for the wishes, Denise and the DWO. Really appreciate it. The show is fun. And the watch along always elevates the whole experience. Cheers. Thank you so much, Yatik. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the watch along, especially coming in during your birthday weekend. Very, very cool. And thank you for showing some love. We also got Rolling Thunder 420 here, who says, Solo is effing hilarious. I love Solo. And you're right. Hear about how Cena handled the segment. It felt like a likely hidden message. I want Solo to win Money in the Bank. Yeah. So there's a couple of people that have thought of the idea of Solo winning. And if he does, then we know that he's going to go after Jacob Fatu's United States Championship, and it probably ain't gonna go so well. But yeah, that's one of the things that I think that Solo, as time goes on, people sort of find what their natural personality is. I think Solo is more of a comedic character than a serious guy, because when he tries to be serious, I'm sorry, I just start laughing. I think he's more of a naturally funny person, and I think if he leaned into that a little bit more in a way, I feel like that would be the thing that starts to resonate with crowds, because that was part of what wasn't working with Solo in the beginning. Was he was trying to be something he wasn't, and it wasn't necessarily registering with the crowd, like it wasn't connecting with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think at first it worked, and then eventually, like, it ran its course as that one note character, especially once he starts taking losses and the like. But yeah, I'm with you. I thought he was hilarious in that opening segment. I thought he cooked, and it's the first time I thought about him possibly winning the Money in the Bank in the midst of that. I was like, oh, could Solo actually win this? I'm digging this version of Solo, and there are ways they could go with that. So I agree with Rolling Thunder for 20 to a certain extent. Not saying I think he is winning, but the thought entered my head for the first time tonight, and it was as a result of how naturally funny I thought he was in that opening segment.
So my top two picks for the men's Money in the Bank is Seth Rollins and LA Knight for winning the briefcase, right? I feel like LA Knight has had the most mic time to actually talk about the Money in the Bank. So that's been making me feel like it's a possibility. He had a match today with Alistair, which I thought the first portion of the match, I was like, yo, guys, like speed this match up. It picked up towards the end, but the beginning was a little bit rough for me. But eventually it ended up being it ended in a DQ because Seth Rollins came out and attacked, right? I we should have seen this coming, because these are both guys that needed wins. Alistair just came into the company, came back to the company, and then as well as LA Knight was going to go into the Money in the Bank. You don't want to go into the Money in Back with a loss. That's how I see things, and so we should have known that this was probably going to end in a DQ here. But I don't know. What do you think are the chances of this being LA Knight? Because again, he's had the most mic time to talk about this. He's still popular with the crowd. It's in LA. What are the chances?
Yeah, he's been my pick. I picked LA Knight and Naomi. I think I'd go LA Knight, Seth Rollins, Solo Sikoa. Those are the three that I could see winning in some way, shape, or form. I kind of feel like Seth gets cost by either Punk or Roman en route because of the friction there, or maybe even, well, it doesn't make sense for Cody because of the tag match otherwise. So I think Seth gets thwarted in that regard. But I could also see Seth winning and using that to hot shot him to a championship right now. LA Knight, it does feel like it's they're setting him up for it, or that they've been building him for it. And then finally Solo, it makes sense storyline wise. It feels like he's finding his groove a little bit. So I would go in that order: LA Knight, Seth Rollins, Solo Sikoa.
All right, that's fair. I'm telling you, this men's Money in the Bank, I feel like it can go any direction. We got Bob Ross Jr. with a very generous super chat. Thank you so much, Bob. Very cool of you. He says, I'm okay with people chanting "We Want Truth" right now, but if they do it on July 14th edition of Monday Night Raw, that I will attend that while Stephanie is there, and then I will start throwing hands. I'm joking. Well, I mean, like, yeah, if your girl Stephanie's on, I'm pretty sure you'd be excited to see her. But no, I feel like they usually do it during the segments that they don't really care about. Like on Raw, the one where I feel like we heard most of the chants happened during Kyrie and Raquel. And that was just, it's unfortunate, but they didn't really care about the match too much. And that was when we heard most of the "We Want Truth" chants.
Yeah, and in this case, it was the association with John Cena being that he was there. He's our truth childhood hero, and that was the last program that he had in WWE. And it's a good way to try and like throw tomatoes at John Cena, if you will.
It had to happen. Like, if the crowd wouldn't have chanted it, I would have been like, what, guys? Did we forget already? Is this over already? But yeah, 100% had to happen there with John Cena and that connection. Thank you so much, Bob Ross, for your generosity, and hope you're having a good weekend. Thank you, Bob. All right. And I also hope you have a good time on the July 14th edition of Monday Night Raw. All right, and I want to go ahead and get into what else haven't we talked about here on today's show. There was kind of a lot that went down, so Oh, yeah, yeah. We got Zelina Vega versus Piper Niven in a Bakersfield brawl. So when this match first started, Robin, I was like, damn, we've seen this match like 5,000 times already. I ended up having a good time with this because they added the stipulation of it being a brawl, essentially a street fight. And they did some cool stuff during this, like the code red off the top of I think it was the second rope where they were at. They did a super code red. I thought that looked really cool. It was very impressive because, again, the size discrepancy between Zelina and Piper. But in the end, though, she was setting up a power bomb spot onto a Piper on a table, but obviously she couldn't get it. She couldn't get it. And throughout the entire match, it was essentially 3-on-1 because the secret Hervis was out there. Chelsea and Alba were helping out Piper. And eventually Julia came through. She came out, had Zelina's back, and hit Piper with the kendo stick, and that basically allowed Piper to get put through the table. Zelina wins. Afterwards, Julia raises her hand and tries to make it seem like, I helped you, we're on good terms, but then she attacks Zelina. And I was kind of glad about that because I'm like, I don't really want to see them as friends. And also, if I was Zelina, I would be pissed. I would be like, hey, I didn't really ask you for any help. Like, I don't want your help. Like, we're not friends. So I did like that this didn't turn into a respect thing, that this was yeah, I helped you because you were being screwed out there. It was 3-on-1, and that's unfair. But also, I don't like you, and I'm going to take your championship away from you.
Yeah, it was like a double moment, right? It was like Zelina got her moment and then Julia got her moment. So that's always, it should be noted and appreciated when that's executed. Not that this is a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it's hard to do. It's hard to, like, simultaneously, because usually it's going to be one person here and another person here. And in this case, they were like, all right, you're here. And then now you're here. And I thought it was executed well.
When do you think that she's dropping the title to Julia? Do you think she's dropping it before or at Evolution 2?
Why not at? I mean, yeah, I mean,
That's what I was thinking too.
yeah. What's the purpose of before? I mean, if you're trying to build it up a little bit, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what kind of match they want Julia to have. If they want her to be able to go, at 100 miles per hour, I would assume Zelina would drop it sooner.
That's true too. But I feel like the billing itself, though, like sometimes it's not even just the speed as much as the what you're speeding towards, right? And I think that's probably, in my mind, that's how I would do it.
All right. And we also had Penta and Andrade versus American Made. I was so glad when they made this match. I was like, all right, this match sounds like it's gonna be good. There were some fun moments. My favorite part was when Julius launched himself off the back of Brutus Creed and then just got Andrade with like the sick knee to the freaking face. I liked that. I had fun with this matchup here. I thought that both teams looked really freaking good. And eventually, Andrade and Penta got themselves a nice little victory here. I was a fan of what they did here. A nice little thrown together matchup.
Yeah, especially because you got two of those guys involved, right? In the Money in the Bank. So it's everybody. I feel like everybody who's involved in those matches had something, or something going on to go, oh yeah, they're a part of it. They're doing it. And then again, that circles back to the beginning of the show when you asked me, are you more excited for Money in the Bank going in? Yeah, like I think they did a good job setting up the show. Everybody who's a part of it was involved. All the big players were involved, and even the bit players who you don't necessarily expect to be climbing up and grabbing that briefcase got a little bit of a screen time, a little bit of moment in the spotlight.
We got a super chat here from JJ Castillo who says, I want Naomi to win the Money in the Bank as much as there's other women who deserve to win. WWE can't miss the opportunity on her great heel run if she doesn't win. I'm 100% with you, JJ. I feel like we've echoed that same sentiment here on the show where it feels like this is a now or never kind of situation. I don't think that if they hold off on this, I don't think it's ever coming back around. So I do think that this is the time. Thank you so much, JJ, for the super chat. And yeah, hopefully we see Naomi and pick up a victory there at Money in the Bank. Thank you, JJ. All right, Robin. So that is our show for today. But before we wrap things up, I do want to give you the opportunity to tell people where to check out your stuff, all of the things that you're doing. Let them know.
Yeah, I'll be, well, check me out on YouTube, Robin Lundberg over there, Robin Lundberg on X. I'll be on Mad Dog Sports Radio Monday and Tuesday from noon to 3. and Women's Fast Break and Indiana Fever on SI running those as well as helping my son guest wrestlers theme songs on YouTube in my free time.
I love that. Oh, that's so fun. Those are always like the funniest videos to do.
Yeah, every day. Well, Rohan every day comes down, Daddy, can we, he calls all wrestling WrestleMania. Can we watch WrestleMania? And I was like, and then, or can we play wrestling songs in the car? Or can we guess the wrestler's theme song? And then Raj was the one who pointed it out to me, his astute viewing. Because, sometimes when you're watching and they go to, like, they throw to a package and you might not think it's important. When they went to the King of the Ring thing, I was like, for whatever reason, I thought they'd thrown a commercial or something. And he's like, Daddy, King of the Ring's leading into SummerSlam with the title. And I was like, all right. So I rewound and I consumed that. So it's good to have my spotters with me during SmackDown as well.
That's cute because you're like, they're paying attention and they're having a good time and enjoying the show. And I did like that they added that extra touch for King and Queen of the Ring. Alrighty, guys, that is it for us here today. As for tomorrow, just a friendly reminder that I will be at Money in the Bank at Intuit Dome. So keep an eye out for a review later on in the night. So just a heads up in case you guys come in here to the channel and you don't see anything, it's because I'm at the show. So just follow along on the social media pages and everything. Also, before I go, just a friendly reminder again, guys, that if you want to take a chance, if you want to bet on Money in the Bank, you guys can do so right now. Like, we follow wrestling, we talk about wrestling all the time. Like, there's a chance that you might actually win some money. Head on over to my bookie. It's my brand new sponsor, my bookie, and go there and enter the promo code Denise. And if you, whatever you guys deposit, they give an extra bit of money. So if you deposit $50, they give an extra $25. If you deposit 100, you get an extra 50, and so on and so forth. And that is over at my bookie, and use that promo code Denise. The lines are open right now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will catch you guys back here on the channel on the next one. Goodbye, everyone. Take care.
Yeet.